Hello and welcome. Welcome to the third episode of our series titled Siddha Prajñā or Equipoise. What we're trying to do today is to find um, a solution in the Gita or in Indian spirituality or in Advaita Vedanta approaches towards conflict resolution, both at the individual level, at the family level, the social level, and probably an international level too. As we are going through presently in a state of international conflicts and crises, we often are confronted with this thought of finding solutions. It seems that one country's solution is not agreeable to the other, and organizations which are entrusted with finding peaceful solutions to international conflicts, whether they be economical or military or geopolitical, they are finding it an embarrassment in such situations. So, what can the Eastern wisdom or Indian thought contribute to this resolution of conflicts? We have the answers obviously in the Gita. The Gita, as we know, is a conversation outwardly between two people. One is a political warrior with political authority, sovereignty, and the required the, martial skills to manage both strategy and tactic in a situation where uh, bloody battles are involved. There is another situation also where the conflict will reach dimensions where the consciousness or the conscience, the prick of conscience is involved. Leader, this great man of arms, is entrusted with the job of leading such an army. And the armies, both sides are made up of relatives, very close relatives, belonging to the same royal family. It is then the significance of Krishna as the charioteer or the tank driver in modern contexts comes to play. The context may be considered small in a philosophical angle, in a spiritual angle, but the issues faced by Arjun are the same issues faced by all of us, individually in our professional lives, in our career lives, in our political lives, in our national lives, and even in the international scenarios these days. So, the uh, issues that confront Arjun may be considered as the same issues confront us all the time. But do we have a Krishna to guide us all the time? This is the question the context poses. The answer to this question may be found in an approach or a pointer to the study of the Bhagavad Gita in particular and the study of the Eastern Vedic law and the Upanishadic law at large. The world has tried many, many options since the beginning of history till now. We have had religions giving solutions, but most of them come with strings attached. But in this ancient lore of texts, in this ancient library of texts, we find strangely no mention of an even author to the books. It is even said that the Upanishads and the Vedas are not written. They came to us as words from nowhere. From nowhere, we may ask with frowned eyebrows. But again, the question of the origin of the earth comes here. You may remember that it was Stephen Hawking that who brought out the theory of the Big Bang concept of the origin of the universe. But then a few years later, I guess in 2020, another scientist proved the existence of the pre-existence of what is now known as conscience as predating even the Big Bang. Now, this is the common platform where our context comes into play. The context of the Gita, as I mentioned in the earlier episodes, is the context of the conscience or the growth of the conscience, what we call prajñā in this series. And we discovered that there are three levels of prajñā: the basic parimita prajñā, or the limited conscience, or let us give a new word for it called instinct. We all know that the plant world and the animal world of the lower species, they live by instincts. Spur of the moment decisions are taken by instincts triggered by in their minds. And then we have in the human level, we have the parinata prajna. Parinata prajna as a concept of conscience, which is continually evolving as a person grows in age. With age comes education. With age comes increased awareness of civilization surrounding the boy or girl. With age comes mentoring from teachers of various subjects. The subjects can be broadly classified into, in Indian terms, paravidya and aparavidya. All the sciences, the technologies, the mathematics, the logical sciences, everything, biology, everything combined can be classified under what we have come to know as in Indian terms, aparavidya. Paravidya is that sacred space where the Vedas and the Upanishads domain connect with knowledge. More wisdom and then less of knowledge, more of wisdom. So this is the broad divisions in which a boy or a girl grows up in age and its prajna or conscience become evolved in time. So that by the time he becomes 20 or 25, this person becomes qualified or equipped with enough doses of paravidya and aparavidya to face the world and its various contexts that he or she will come to face later in life. This is where we modern management thinking calls for uh, early acquisition of sophistication. Early acquisition means the acquisition of both paravidya and aparavidya in the early stages of life that will give him enough equilibrium and equipoise, a great degree of sthita pratnya condition as he or she goes through life. The sophistication comes in the form of civilized behavior, cultured etiquettes, awareness of social values, and an adherence to them as a person goes by in society, as also the skills required to perform one's duties assigned in life. When we say duties assigned in life, the Bhagavad Gita, as we will come later to the particular verse where Krishna explains duties and responsibilities, duties are to be performed without attachment, over attachment to them. The duty in Indian terms, in Vedantic terms, let us call it karma. Karma is an English word now, very widely used in various contexts. But again, in the case of Bhagavad Gita and society as a whole, Let us take duties as karma assigned to particular classes of people. The people live in a society where all perform various duties and responsibilities. As we know, in ancient India, we had the Brahmins. The Brahmins now come under huge criticism of being hegemonical in behavior, in attitudes. That is wrong. They had the religion and not spirituality. Religion played a very major role in establishing itself as temples and the rituals performed inside and outside them in various times of the year. Now, who should perform these rituals? A particular class of people, a particular cadre of people were assigned the responsibility and duties by the rulers then to conduct these rituals. And the rituals consisted of fire ceremonies, puja ceremonies, mere worship ceremonies. But again, entry was restricted to only a few kind of classes of people. These were the necessities of the times. And who made the rules? Another class of people called the royals, as we call them now. Then they were called kshatriyas. Kshatriya's job was essentially governance, civil governance of the domain, and defense of the domain and its areas, geographic areas, and perhaps expansion of those areas. But in the peculiar case of India, Indian kshatriyas or Indian rulers were never keen with expanding geographies of their kingdoms. The kingdoms of something like 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, we know, extended in the east from Cambodia and extended to in the west till about Kandahar, which is now called Afghanistan. It never went beyond or away from these points in the map. In the south, we were bounded by the oceans. In the north, we were bounded by the great Himalayas or the snow-capped mountains. So the Kshatriyas ruled the governance part of it and the defense part of it. And below that, after that, the division came in the form of, again, further classification of cadres. In the cadre of promoting continuance of economies of the nation, of the domain, a particular class, classified as known as Vaishyas, were created. The Vaishya's job was to create conditions or create systems in commerce, in economies, which will ensure the sustenance of the village, the city, or the nation as a viable entity. Now, who will provide the manpower or the labor to conduct all these things, right from the temple down to the Vaishya domain? Vaishya domain mainly consisted of agriculture and farming in those times. Factories came later. Factories and other modern management and manufacturing disciplines came later. But again, the cadre of manpower distribution, manpower supply, was rested with another class, what is then called Shudra. You may ask, why these classifications? Can you imagine also a situation where these classifications did not exist then? I would imagine there will be total cacophony of events. It will be an utter chaos without division of labor. It is merely, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it was he who created, or the system, the bigger system that created the subsystems merely for the sake of ease of governance and ease of conducting affairs on a daily basis of the domains under control. But as time went on, discrepancies started creeping in, egoism started creeping in, particular lifestyle peculiarities related to each profession or each cadre started creeping in, and that gave the wrong connotations to the cadres. But we should realize in the context of the Gita that and Krishna, who gives the right kind of advice, that it is attachment, over attachment to your responsibility or duty that creates such a confusion. Can you imagine the defense infrastructure of a country without such cadre based divisions? A general's duty is to sit in his office, in his war room or his command center, giving directions to those cadres immediately under him. They, in turn, distribute the commands with their additions, with their additional explanations, which may vary from context to context because the general may address the situation on a national scale. The other cadres under him may address the situation on a regional scale. A general or a lieutenant general entrusted with the command of the eastern region, another entrusted with the command of the western region, the southern region, northern region, and so on. So there will be cadres under the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one, all the way down to the last cadre of performers of functions, none the less important, but equally important for the governance and the continuance of the force, of the defense systems, of the defense infrastructure, both in times of peace and in times of war, in times of conflict. Only when an army is fully equipped and fully ready will they be able to act defensively and decisively in times of conflict. Similarly, we can look at this Arjuna Krishna battlefield situation where Arjuna perhaps was taken aback or taken by surprise, not knowing what to do in the case of situations, tactical and strategic, unable to make decisions and unable to come to conclusions. So you could say that one particular reason caused the confusion, and Krishna points it out very decisive terms. He says, "Do not be attached to your functions. Do not be attached to your karma." In the case of Arjun, he did not see a war situation or a battlefield situation or a professional situation. Instead, he saw uncles and cousins and very close relatives on the other side, where clear cut decisions of destruction were to be taken. That means we can say in any situation, for example, uh, at the Vaishya level and the Shudra level, people became or societies became too much attached to the objects of their work, to the tools of their trade. And the main tool of the trade of the Vaishya is money, banking, and the other institutions created by money. Once a society becomes too much overoccupied with money or obsessed with it, it becomes an obsession. And obsession is the worst form of attachment. And then let us use a Sanskrit word which will bring in more context to the situation. It is called Sangha, Vishaya Sangha. Any object that a person deals with is called a Vishaya or a subject or an object in this case. When the subject or the person, when I become obsessed or attached to a Vishaya more than what is required for the moment, I become obsessed with that. The same case with women. Women became wives in social circumstances, and attachment to the women or the wives as objects of pleasure and objects of anything else becomes a cause for worry. Same case with Shudra. Shudras were looked down upon because of their work environments. Can we imagine a situation where cars run without mechanics? Can we imagine a situation where huge tracts of agricultural field run on their own? Impossible. Can we imagine a situation where whole armies of infantry brigades go onto the battlefield without the foot soldiers? Impossible. So, but at the same time, once we become over involved or over obsessed with such vishayas or vishaya sangha, then tragedy occurs. This is the same tragedy that Arjun faces in the battlefield. The case of vishaya sangha. Imagine vishaya sangha is removed from the context. The whole affair becomes a totally professional project where an army general is entrusted with the job of defeating its enemy, conquering or establishing or uh, stabilizing territory and its administration mechanisms. It becomes a totally different affair. But if we mix water, if we dilute the mission with other things such as personalities, clashes, personality issues, personal issues, and all those things, it becomes a horrific story. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that a man should perform his duties exactly like a bank cashier does in his counter. The counter clerk in the cashier's box should never for a moment imagine that the millions of currency notes passing through his hands belong to him. So that's a great example to part with and conclude today's episode, I think. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Goodbye. See you again.